The jungle jet. A white business jet lies belly down in a razor-straight clearing near the Mexico-Guatemala border, hours from the nearest paved road. No scorch marks halo the airframe, no wreckage fans into the undergrowth. Just an aircraft set down where an aircraft should not be. The coordinates place it inside Laguna del Tigre National Park, once prized from Mayan ruins, now notorious as a waypoint in Latin America's cocaine superhighway. Traffickers chainsaw runways into the forest, land at night, guided by drones, unload, and torch the evidence. A hobbyist scanning for archaeological sites put the jet on Reddit's radar. The thread didn't stay small for long. One commenter found an overgrown dirt runway close by. Another user ran with that discovery and guessed the plane carried illicit cargo, quote, for sure drugs. Field reports backed that up. In 2020 alone, Guatemalan troops located at least 50 abandoned narco jets in the jungle, some burnt, others intact. Each aircraft was worth millions on its own, but once the powder was gone, they weren't even worth hauling out. That same year, soldiers intercepted a rare live landing. After a firefight, the crew vanished, leaving 3,700 pounds of cocaine inside a pristine hawker siddeley with green and blue stripes. The drugs were worth around $160 million on U.S. streets. According to the DEA, nearly 90% of the cocaine consumed in the United States passes through Guatemala, much of it via air. With pilots pocketing up to $500,000 per run, not every plane or pilot has to make the return trip. Reddit users suggest our mystery jet could be a Citation M2 worth about $5 million. A ghost-thin dirt track runs west from the clearing to a lonely building, just far enough from official highways to keep questions away. As of the last 2024 satellite update, the jet hasn't budged, and the mystery remains. It may have crashed, it may have failed to take off, or maybe, like so many others, it was simply meant to be left behind, a disposable link in a billion-dollar chain. The Missing Mountains. Key in the right coordinates, and the remote tundra of Russia's Chukotka region flickers. On Google Maps, the land pixelates, and Apple blurs it to a watercolor smear. On Yandex, Russia's own mapping service, the anomaly is starker still. A bold black rectangle, nearly 10 kilometers long, stamped across the wilderness like redaction tape on a classified file. For over 15 years, users on Reddit and forums like Above Top Secret have documented the shifting attempts to conceal this location. Early versions showed sharp-edged boxes stitched into surrounding satellite tiles. Later versions featured artificial landscapes, possibly copied from nearby. Some users claim to see faint structures beneath the haze, symmetrical shapes, a plume of white smoke, even the ghost of a runway. What could be hidden in a place so far from everything? The spot is remote, even by Far East standards. Egvekinot, the nearest town, sits 70 kilometers away on the Bering Coast, accessible only by sea or ice road. It's not the first secret held by Chukotka. Just 200 kilometers away stands Gudim, also known as Anadyr 1, a now abandoned Soviet nuclear missile town built underground and operated in total secrecy through the Cold War. Gudim's location was only confirmed after the USSR collapsed. Its missiles, stationed in mobile launchers and shielded by tanks and concrete bunkers, once aimed across the Bering Sea at American soil. Some speculate the censored spot hides something similar, a relic of the Cold War, too sensitive to reveal. Others note that the Volunishtoye ore field, one of Russia's richest gold and silver deposits, sits in the same district. A mining complex could explain both censorship and secrecy. Others point to the region's immense mineral wealth. One rumor, drawn from a Russian-language forum, suggests that mining the area could be so valuable that it would, quote, destabilize the global economy. Official explanations are scarce. A satellite imaging company once called the blur a sensor dropout, but Reddit sleuths found the same patchwork imagery across multiple providers with different data sources. It's either a coincidence stretching belief or coordination. In an era where tourists livestream from Everest's summit, a single blurred rectangle is proof that satellite eyes still blink. Whatever waits under those digital sensors stays invisible, at least for now. The face in the ice. It begins with a glance, one strange formation in a white void. At coordinates along the glacial expanse of Oatsland in Antarctica, a face appears, or at least something that looks like one. A human-like profile etched into a snow-covered cliff, with one eye half closed, a long nose, and a mouth lost in shadow. It's enough to make anyone pause, and on Reddit, they do. The image was uncanny enough to draw comparison to the 1976 Viking 1 photo of a face on Mars that launched decades of speculation. And this time, the mystery was much closer to home. The coordinates sit in a well-charted wedge of East Antarctica claimed by Australia. Lieutenant Harry Pennell first mapped the coast in 1911 aboard the exploration ship Terra Nova. U.S. Navy flyers on Operation High Jump in 1946, a Soviet expedition in 1958, and Australian surveys through the early 1960s all photographed these cliffs without noting anything stranger than wind-sculpted rock. Antarctica has a way of stirring imaginations with mysterious sightings. In 2016, a pyramid-shaped peak in the southern Ellsworth Mountains went viral. Rising out of a sea of snow, the mountain's four near-perfect sides gave the illusion of deliberate construction. Some saw the fingerprints of a lost civilization, others the shadow of ancient aliens. But geologists offered a more grounded explanation: freeze-thaw erosion. Water fills tiny cracks during the day, then freezes at night, slowly splitting rock and sculpting sharp, symmetrical faces over millennia. It's a process seen in the Matterhorn, and likely here too. Then there's the so-called doorway, spotted near the Japanese Showa Station in 2024. Satellite images show what looks like a rectangular entrance in the ice, too geometric, some argued, to be natural. But countered with a more mundane explanation. This is a grounded iceberg melting in place, a trick of wind, ice, and time, not a hidden bunker. The region itself carries a ghostly signature. Its name honors Captain Lawrence Oates, who limped from his tent into a blizzard during Robert Falcon Scott's doomed attempt to reach the South Pole in 1912, saying, quote, "I'm just going outside, and maybe sometime." Against that lore, a haunting stone face feels almost expected. The face will probably melt into featureless white when the next sheet of snow slumps off the cliff. Until then, it endures beside the very real tale of a man who vanished willingly into Antarctica's gloom, and other stories that believers want to tell themselves about mirages in the snow. The Kamchatka Mark. Halfway down the volcanic, wave-lashed coast of Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula, satellite images pick out a near-perfect circle, almost 300 feet across, scored into black volcanic sand and slashed by a bold X. The mark first appears in photos taken between 2013 and 2021. Since then, it has remained untouched and unexplained. The site lies just outside Vilyuchinsk, a Cold War-era ZATO, the Russian acronym for a closed administrative territorial formation. Once known solely by its postal code, Vilyuchinsk remains a secret city, still inaccessible to outsiders. Vilyuchinsk began as a Cold War base for the Soviet Pacific submarine fleet and remains a critical naval outpost. In September 2024, two brand-new nuclear submarines, the Borai-class Imperator Alexander III and the SN-class Krasnoyarsk, completed an under-ice transfer from the Northern Fleet to their new Pacific home here, bringing nuclear-capable RSM-56 Bulava and Kalibir cruise missiles with them. When the Circle and X hit Reddit, theories ranged from a satellite calibration grid to a Cold War bombing target. One user jokingly called it the screw holding the Earth together. Another user noticed its resemblance to a ground-to-air distress code signaling medical emergency, unable to proceed. Complicating matters, the beach witnessed an ecological scare in the fall of 2020. Surfers reported yellow foam offshore. Days later, thousands of sea urchins, fish, crabs, and octopuses washed up dead. Studies pointed to harmful algal bloom toxins, though rumors persisted of a possible chemical spill linked to military testing. Investigators never nailed a single culprit. Subsequent satellite frames show pale specks inside the X, perhaps debris memorializing the die-off. Kamchatka was closed to foreigners for most of the 20th century. Even Soviet citizens needed special passes due to extensive military secrets in the region. The peninsula finally opened in the 1990s, but Vilyuchinsk stayed fenced. Now, with the sudden appearance of a giant, unexplained mark near its shores, the mystery of Kamchatka may be beginning all over again. The Castaway. On the ragged coast of Calvert Island in British Columbia, a strange orange object rests alone in a sheltered cove. In satellite images from Google Maps, it looks like a deployed life raft, partially deflated, flipped, and left behind by time. Reddit user Avi Underground spotted it first, launching a multi-page thread filled with speculation. The object appeared floating offshore in 2017. By 2024, it had settled on the sand, barely shifting despite 7 years of tides and storms. Some suggested it was a buoy or scientific equipment. Others believed it might be debris from a long-forgotten emergency, or perhaps a self-inflating lifeboat that had fallen overboard. One user emailed the Canadian Coast Guard. Another contacted the nearby Hakai Institute, a research center perched just a few miles north. No answers came. The raft, or buoy, or capsule, or whatever it is, remained. It wouldn't be the first time the Pacific delivered the unexpected. In 2012, a Harley-Davidson swept away by Japan's tsunami was found on a remote beach in British Columbia, its license plate intact. During a 2020 coastal cleanup, researchers collected more than 80,000 water bottles from a single stretch of British Columbia's shore, many labeled in languages from across the Pacific Rim. Alongside the bottles, they found crab floats from Oregon, a message in a bottle from Korea, and strange objects like mannequin parts and submarine equipment that no one could quite explain. Calvert Island's interior is a tangled mass of peat bogs and towering forest, so reaching the object in person would require a bushwhack through nearly impassable terrain, or a boat through unpredictable surf. So the object remains as a kind of modern ghost, part castaway, part artifact. If it was ever tied down, if someone once floated ashore inside of it, no record remains. Would you risk the journey to uncover the truth behind these mysterious objects, or is it better if some secrets stay hidden? Let me know in the comments. As always, thank you for watching Dark 5. Like and subscribe to continue exploring the greatest mysteries of this world and beyond.